Hey guys, Daniel here with That Damn Brand, and this time I'm doing my $500 PC, streaming PC build. There are some options to upgrade in the build, but it will take you over $500. This build is pretty much kind of inspired by our Twitch streamer friend, your host Cormlock. He is a Xbox streamer looking to get into PC. He was saying his budget's around $500. And I was seeing what I can do, and I actually think I made a decent machine for that price. But check out your host Cormlock. He's a very friendly guy, fun to be in his chat, and he was a veteran, so support your vets. Anyway, on to the build. Alright guys, well I want to start off my build just by showing this video right here. It's by Blunty. He's a really good YouTuber. You should check him out if you're really into nerdy PC stuff. Right here it shows the difference between CPU encoding and GPU encoding and quality. What he doesn't, well, I'm not going to play any audio, but what wasn't shown in the video was that CPU encoding is actually really intensive and GPU encoding doesn't require a lot of resources from the GPU. So GPU encoding is easier to get away with, but as you see in these pictures or this video, that CPU encoding is higher quality, and with that, that's how I built my rig for this. So I paid more attention to the CPU than the GPU. Alright, so this is an Excel sheet I made. It shows all the parts that I have and how much each one costs, the total, and then if you have a little bit more than $500, this is a budget streaming PC, but I did put in some upgrades that you can do and how much it'll cost with the upgrades. But if you have I guess $650, $700 and you're interested in my thoughts on another build, let me know. I like making these videos. I like going in and picking parts, and I could pick one that's more optimized for that price point. What I really tried doing was staying within $500 for all the parts, and as you see I did that, so I'm pretty excited about that because I didn't think I'd be able to do it. So let's jump right into it. So the first part is the motherboard, and I have the motherboard right here. Alright, as you see it's $50. It's a pretty basic motherboard. It's actually a first gen of the Ryzen, so it's a 1000 series motherboard, but with a BIOS update you can run 2000 series. What I found interesting was, if you look right here, oops, sorry about that. If you look down here, the top favorite review was saying that it already had the BIOS update, saying it's ready. Then the top critical review says that it's not ready. It's not compatible with the 2000 series. But the one that says it's compatible with it is actually from 4 months earlier than the one that says it isn't compatible with it. So it sounds like you may get one that does and you may get one that doesn't. Updating the BIOS is not a big deal, and it doesn't really take a lot of time, or it's not really even hard to do. So I wouldn't have that deter you. If you were to, if you are scared of that, look for the motherboard that is a 420. So it'd be A420, and that one is for sure to work with a Ryzen 2 series, because it would be a Ryzen 2 motherboard, or from the 2000 series. It will cost you a little bit more, and they've shown that the performance difference isn't much. The only the difference is that it is able to support higher RAM speeds. But with this build, you're not going to be getting to those high RAM speeds. We're going to be sticking around at normal RAM speeds, so it's not really an issue. And if you are going to be looking at those RAM speeds, you may want to be looking at a different build, maybe, and putting your money elsewhere. Actually, maybe a better CPU instead of those RAM speeds, because you'll get more bang for your buck out of a better CPU than higher speed RAM. Higher speed RAM is kind of like the one of the last things that you really want to do. But yeah, this is the motherboard, $50, not bad. Supports 2 RAM slots, has some USBs on it over here. It does have its own video, which you see, but the CPU that I'm going to recommend does not have onboard video, so you will not need to use those. And that's pretty much it for this board. It's a pretty basic board, nothing really special about it, but it gets the job done. So next on our list is the RAM. So we have 8 gigs of RAM for 2666 speed of DDR4. I actually think 24 would be fine, 2400 for speed, but this was on sale for the same price, so why not get the faster RAM? 8 gigs will get you by. It's not going to be great, but it's enough. It's kind of enough. The RAM will be your bottleneck, unfortunately, but you can always add a stick of RAM without having to throw away any parts, which is why I do go with a single instead of a double, like 2 8s. I'm sorry, not 2 8s, like 2 4s to get 8 gigs. I am recommending an 8 gig stick, so when you do get an extra $50 down the line, you can just buy another 8 stick gig and throw it in there. Now you have 16 gigs and your RAM will be fine. There's no reason that you should go any higher than 16 gigs right now with current technology. So it's RAM, it works, it's cheap, and I do know that it does say it's on sale for 4 days, but there's always RAM on sale for 4 days, like not for 4 days, but there's always RAM on sale. So G.Skill is a good brand to go by. Corsair is another good brand. If you see something around that price range, it's a good buy. It's a good buy, and this is just what I'm recommending for this time and point. Now onto the CPU. So for the CPU, I'm going with the Ryzen 5 2600. There is a 2600X. It's the same thing, the same CPU except faster. Unfortunately, there's a big price difference. So for this build, we're going with this one. It's really good for gaming. That's good clock speeds right here, and you have 6 cores in this one, which is really good because most games right now only use 4 cores. I can put a video description to show you that video where they tested out. They took a i9, I think it's a 12-core processor, and they turned off cores. Like they would have 1 core run, then they'd play a game. 2 core runs, play a game. 3 cores run, play a game. And pretty much once it reached 4 cores, you saw no performance difference. So 4 cores is where it's at for games. So you have 4 cores for gaming, and then you have 2 cores for encoding your stream. So you don't have to use the GPU encoding that I showed you before. And that's why the CPU that I'm picking right now is completely going to outclass the GPU that I'm going to show you later. But it's for your stream, for your viewers, so they can have a good quality view. You may have to turn down some settings, like maybe low settings, but at least your viewer is going to get a crisp view and not a crisp video, and not just like a bunch of pixels everywhere like it's loading in. It's going to be a crisp view, and they'll not exactly see what you see, but it's an image pretty close. Alright guys, so I had to re-record this part. It's the power supply part. The power supply that I first recommended, I kind of didn't agree with because I thought it was modular, and I'm just dumb and it's not. But if you don't really care about modular, I guess it's not a big deal. That's more of a personal preference. So I decided to show both power supplies that I would recommend, and you guys get to choose which one you want. They're actually the same power supply, just the one that I would get is $10 more, so it still fall under the $500 build, but it's modular, so that would help for installation purposes, like when you install it and run all your wires. It would help for cable management because there'll be less cables, and I'll pretty much just show you the difference. So the CX 550 is what I would recommend, because 550 watts is enough to run this build, along with creating some space to upgrade if you do choose to get a better GPU somewhere down the line, like a 1060 or maybe a 2060 from the newer ones that it hasn't came out yet, but you may look into that. It has enough room on there to make the upgrade. So I'm giving you some space to upgrade, which is one of the great things about playing on PC or having a PC that you make on your own, or I guess any one, because you could just interchange the parts. But anywho, so I will show you the main difference, because the one I would get is actually the CX 500M, and I'm guessing the M stands for being modular. The difference between the two is, and let me show you, is this one has all the power. Like if you see right here, that's all the power supply cables. They're already attached to the. Oops, I should have clapped. They're already attached to the power supply, and you just run them out, plug them in. So that's what that is. But the problem is, if you aren't like let's say you're only using 2 of them. You're only using one to hook up the hard drive and one to hook up your motherboard. Then you would still have the other 4 in there. Just you have to wrap them up somewhere, or I think it's just a pain and it gets messy. While if you come over here and I show you this one, you plug in the ones that you would like to use. So if you're only using your SATA and your CPU, like the bottom 2, and you don't need extra power for other things, then you're fine. The GPU that I recommended, I believe, draws power straight from the motherboards, and you don't need an external power supply. So while you're using that motherboard, you only would need the bottom 2. Or not, I'm sorry, not that motherboard. While you're using that GPU, you'd only need the bottom 2. If you upgrade to a higher end GPU, you probably would need a 6-pin, and then you would add one in. But for the initial installation, it would be less messy. So this is the one that I would actually go by. It would add $10 to the final cost, but I decided, hey, it may be just a pet peeve of mine. They may not care. I wanted to throw it to you guys. You guys make up your mind, whichever one you want. Maybe it's not worth it to you, and you would rather save the extra $10. The extra $10. But one thing that I guess the additional thing is, more cables in there means there's more places for dust to collect, and it also blocks a little bit of airflow. Not much, I know, but just thought I'd let you know. Cable management is important because you want to allow air to flow through the system. You don't want to allow blocks in there for where dust can accumulate and restrict airflow. But this is the one I would get, but it works just as well as this one. It's just how they're connected. So I throw that into your corner. You choose whichever one you want. I'll throw both in the description. I'll put this one as an upgrade. It's not currently on the on my little Excel sheet, but I will throw the link in there as well. So here's the GPU. This is the one you want. You want the low profile, but you want DDR5. The DDR4 one, I know it's only a $10 difference, but it's huge difference in terms of performance. This one sucks. You will not be able to play games. This one's good. You will be able to play games. It's crazy how much the RAM type makes a difference, but it does. DDR5 RAM, this is the one you want, $60. Like I said, you will not be playing on ultra settings. You'll probably be playing on low settings, but if you're just getting an entry level into the market or into streaming, this is a perfect GPU because, as you see, it's only $70. So if you do upgrade to like a 1060, so you can play high settings, you will only be throwing away $60 or $70. I'm sorry. Rather than, I was looking at the 1050 Ti, but that would be $150, and then you'd be throwing away $150 if you wanted to upgrade to anything higher. And it's a good entry level GPU. It gets the job done, and it holds you over until your upgrade next year. That's on that. Next is the case. So this is the same case that I've been recommending for quite some time. It has a lot of good reviews. It used to come in black, but the black one sold out, and it looks like it's not being sold anymore. All the reviews are really high on it. It has a lot of good airflow in it. Let me see if I can get it. It has a lot of good airflow in it. It has the clear side panel, so you can play with your lights for LEDs if you choose to do that later down the line. It has a good amount of USBs on the top, 3. That's the most I saw at this price point. And a lot of, I guess this one was just saying that the fan controller cable started to melt. Unfortunately, he probably just got a bad case because it's almost perfect score where it shows 5. Oops, sorry. It's almost perfect score where it shows 5 eggs. So that's the case that I would recommend. Unfortunately, like I said, it doesn't come in black anymore because if you press black, it's sold. Oh, it is! It's there! Oh, it's back! Oh, sorry, I hit my computer. So yeah, black or white. Choose whichever one you want. When I picked out these parts, the black wasn't there. So there you go. This is the case that I would recommend. Pick your color. Go at it. Next is a hard drive. Hard drive is just $45 with extra savings, but granted it's only 2 days left. There's hard drives always on sale. The last video I recorded for this 500 build before I had to retract what I said was a Toshiba, just because that was the cheapest one. Toshiba, Seagate, whatever reputable brand. Don't buy a brand you never heard of. Buy a reputable brand and it'll work. You can normally get a 1 terabyte hard drive for around $45. But what you do want to look for, if this hard drive isn't on sale anymore, is the RPMs. 7,200 RPM is the minimum, is what you want to go for. That's gonna make your load times not too painful, and that's kind of where you want to stick by. So it's a hard drive, guys. It's a lot of memory for not a lot of price. Next, oops. Okay, so sorry. That's a little glimpse. So going back to this, that's pretty much the whole build in it originally. Like, if you only wanted to do $500, and that's how much it'll come out afterwards. Like when you buy everything. So I did take some liberties and do some upgrades, and that's what I'm going to show you next. I have 3 upgrades to recommend. One would be more RAM. One would be a higher end CPU that does come with some downsides, so I will explain that if you choose to do that. And then one would be a DVD drive if you want a DVD drive. I didn't include it in the build because they're not very common anymore. Most laptops don't even have them anymore. But the other day I bought some tax software and it comes on a DVD, so I know there is still uses for it. That's why I have one. But I probably use it like 2 times, 3 times a year, not even much. So I'll get into those. Let's go back. So next one is just RAM. It's pretty much the same RAM that I recommended beforehand. It's a little bit faster just because it was on sale. I guess when it comes back in stock. Yeah, here it is, sold out. So it'll come back in stock. But it was $97. It's a little bit faster, but that's just because that's the cheapest that I saw, and that's fine. Like, why not get a little bit faster RAM if it's still on the cheap? This is if you did any of the upgrades that I recommend, this would be the one that I would do. Like, if you only had to do one, this is the one I would do. And the reasoning is because if you're PC gaming and you're streaming at the same time, it takes up RAM, and your RAM might be the bottleneck in the original build, where you'd have to turn down some settings on your stream, turn down some settings on your game, just so that it's not being a RAM hog. So this definitely would be the upgrade that I would go with, and it wouldn't put you too far over $500. But like I said, if one upgrade, this is it, because this would you would actually see a huge performance difference, because you would not be limited by how much RAM your PC's taking up. Because 16 gigs, I have 16 gigs. I've never seen my PC max out on 16 gigs. You can probably get away with just having 12, but I don't think they make 6 gigabyte sticks. So this is the one upgrade that I would go with. Obviously wait for it to be in stock, because you don't want to spend that much money on it. But yeah, it's a good RAM, good price. You will see a difference. Next is the Ryzen 7. So this is the CPU where I said you may or may not want to do. So comparing it with the Ryzen 3, look at the clock speeds here, and going back to the Ryzen 5. I'm sorry, this one's faster. So the other one is a faster CPU. So your game performance you will notice a difference, because gaming is a single thread process, and your CPU speed is what matters in that, while streaming is a multi-core process, or multi-thread process, I'm sorry. So while the core, like each individual core, is not as strong, you have more of them. So because you can use more cores in streaming, you would get a better stream out of this as than you would the initial CPU that I recommended. But you will see lower frame rates in games if you get a high enough GPU where your CPU is the bottleneck. With the CPU with the GPU that I recommended, the 1030, the GT 1030, it doesn't make a difference, and it may not even make a difference for a 1060. That's something I need to go research. But it would make a difference if you're trying to use like a 1080 Ti in 1080p graphics. You know, so this is more of like, what do you plan on moving your PC forward? And honestly, if you're planning on playing that kind of stuff, you may want to upgrade your whole PC in general and just do a new build. So I don't think it's that big of a deal when it comes to gaming, but I just wanted to throw out the disclaimer that you may see a difference. It was $200, so well, actually it was $189, which this one's sold out too for some reason. It'll be back in stock. It always is, and it's a good, it's a good CPU. I don't really have anything else to say about it. It's only $30 overhead. If you want to spend it, go ahead. If not, do that too. What you can also do is, if you wanted to build this in December, is wait until the next generation Ryzen's come out, the 3000 series. Because if you see, this is a 1000 series. That's last gen. This is a current gen, but the next CPUs are actually going to come out around April. From what rumors are having, they're going to be announced next month in January. So honestly, if you can hold out the build at all, I would wait till then, because that's supposed to be a huge jump in CPU power, and you would probably be able to get like a Ryzen 3 CPU instead of a Ryzen 5 for around $100, and that's more money that you can put into your GPU. So I know, like, I'm just pretty much saying, if you can wait, do it, because there's going to be a huge performance difference. Next thing though, moving on to the last one, it's really just a DVD burner, or DVD CD reader burner, whatever. Like I said, if you want one, it's $4 off right now, and it comes out to $16. Like I said, it ends in 14 hours, but I've seen this exact DVD player on sale all the time for $16, and even if it's not on sale for $16, it's still only $20, and you can probably wait it out, because you probably won't need it right away. You would want to, but if you don't get one of these, you want to make sure that you have your operating system on a USB port, just so that you can use the USB port to boot from. But yeah, that's my build. As I said, it may not be like the highest performing build, but it'll get the job done, especially if you're a streamer. I do think it's pretty awesome what parts I was able to get into under $500. I think that's really cool, and I'm really excited about that. And it's only going to get better as time goes by, specifically in April. Yeah, if you want to see any other builds, price range, like maybe you have $700, maybe you have $1,000, I would be more than happy to build a PC for you guys, or select parts. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy it, and thanks.
If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to check out one of the other videos on screen now. And don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video.